So good morning. Thank you everybody for coming. It's nice to see people come to Scituate when the weather's nice. I appreciate it. We're here today with our friends from our congressional delegation, Congressman Lynch, Congressman Keating, Farrah and Ridore from Senator Warren's office, and Jimmy Cantwell from Senator Markey's office, as well as representatives of all the South Shore towns that are going to be impacted by the proposed closing of the Coast Guard station in Scituate. We're going to get right to our speakers, but why are we here? Because your public safety professionals will tell you in an emergency, seconds count. And on the water, that is even more important, that seconds count. According to the Coast Guard's own figures, if the boat in Scituate Harbor is sent to Hull in a 4-foot sea, it will take 78 minutes for that boat to respond to Scituate Harbor. 78 minutes. We are here today, so we're not back here later saying to you people, if only the Coast Guard boat had been here, things might have turned out differently. This is a matter of utmost importance to the South Shore, to the communities here. I want to thank all my colleagues, all the elected officials for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over first to Congressman Stephen Lynch.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the work Jim has done in pulling us all together. First of all, I want to recognize Senator Markey's office and Senator Warren's office for their persistent and really energetic efforts on behalf of the Scituate Coast Guard Station, and also my friend and my colleague Bill Keating, who will speak in a moment. You know, I'm a bit surprised that the Coast Guard has held on as tenaciously as they have to this position. But thankfully, you know, I'm surrounded by my friends and colleagues here in government, federal, state, and local. And I really appreciate the fact that so many of the affected towns have representation behind me. And that makes a big difference. I also want to talk about the unique relationship that the communities that are represented behind me have with the United States Coast Guard. When I think of the number of appointments that Bill and I have made, and Senator Warren and Ed Markey have made, the United States Coast Guard Academy or to the Naval Academy, from these communities, from Scituate and Cohasset and Hull and Hingham in my district, and Bill Keating will talk about similar situations and that great bond of loyalty between the Coast Guard and these communities that's been so close, intimate, if you will, over the previous decades, going back a very long way. So I'm surprised and disappointed that they would hang on to this position, that they need to eliminate this Coast Guard station. It's not a money issue, as they will tell you. However, they will also tell you about the great support that they have received at the federal level from Senator Markey, Senator Warren, from Representative Keating and myself in their budget. And so I think that all the arguments are on our side, and trying to look at this as fairly as possible. I expect to win. I expect that we will reverse the Coast Guard decision. We are seeking a meeting directly with Rear Admiral Allen. As you may know, I represent the main Coast Guard station in Boston. My wife, a few years ago, christened the most recent Coast Guard cutter, the United States Coast Guard Flying Fish. You know, I've worked hand in hand with the Coast Guard. We had a bunch of coasties in Basra, Iraq, that I worked with when we were training the Iraq Navy on bringing in those tanker ships. You know, it's been a labor of love on my part to work with the Coast Guard. And I really, as an organization, the Coast Guard has always taken great pride on their situational awareness. And that's the problem that we see here. We see a growing footprint of activity in and around Scituate, Hull, Cohasset, down to Plymouth, all along this coastal area, So we see a wider footprint of activity. We're seeing greater impact from climate change, more severe storms, more opportunities where the Coast Guard services will be needed. And yet we have a decision here that is contrary to that, right? They're trying to restrict their footprint. And in my mind, putting the communities that are served here at risk. So I am just delighted to have all of my colleagues with me. You know, principally I've been dealing directly with Senator O'Connor and Senator Moran, Representative Joan Meschino, Representative Kearney, Pat Kearney, who is also, you know, he's a merchant mariner, another reflection of the close bond between these communities, especially Scituate and the United States Coast Guard, and the naval tradition that is very much alive here in Scituate and all these coastal towns. So, like I say, I expect to win, but this will not be without some hard work. And you know, we rely so heavily on the town administrators here. You know, Jim Boudreau doing a great job in pulling us all together. But each and every town that is represented here today and that you will hear from is doing their part. And I'm very proud to be part of this coalition to work on behalf of this issue. So we will push it forward. We believe that even with the data that we've received from the Coast Guard as the underpinning of their decision, we think that their decision is flawed. And again, if you look at the situational awareness that should be present in this decision making, we don't see it. And so we're going to have a very respectful but robust discussion with Rear Admiral Allen in the next few days. I'm very happy that we have unanimity among our elected officials at the local, state, and federal level. And now I'd like to turn it over to my friend and colleague who has been a force to be reckoned with early on in the Homeland Security Committee, but also who has taken a keen interest in maritime safety and the health and well-being of our personnel in the United States Coast Guard, who I think is a wonderful ambassador for all of us in this conflict that we're currently having. So with that, proud to introduce Congressman Bill Keating.
Thank you, Steve. And Steve and I share this coastline. We also are members of Congress that you don't see knee-jerk reactions to. We're thoughtful. I think I speak for both of us. When we decide to participate in an event like this, we do it with great purpose and a feeling of great need to respond. And so both of us are here joined by representatives from our U.S. senators, Senator Warren, Senator Markey. We're here with our legislative delegation we work seamlessly with on these matters. We're here with our local first responders, most of them first responders on land. They're there responding, and response time is a huge issue, whether it's our fire services or our police services on land. We're here with our Harbormasters, too, that are our first responders off the coast and in the water. First and foremost, let me say this. Whether we look at the back pages in hidden articles in the paper or activities that even aren't heralded and don't receive public attention, we all know the extraordinary job that those people representing us in the Coast Guard do day to day. They're heroic, they're life-saving, they're preventative. They're there to protect us just like our local fire and police and first responders are on land. Response time is critical in that regard. And if you're relying on response being from Allerton or Cape Cod Canal, I know that response time just this morning going from the Cape Cod Canal, it's not easy all the time. And that's response time that's calculated often without a storm. And we've seen these surges come overnight without warning. We've seen cells occur. All of us have seen this in our neighborhoods. This is not an emergency that can be, these emergencies that can be foreseen. They can happen at any time, and they happen with great rapidness. Also, besides response time, this announcement by the Coast Guard in June in the Federal Register, that announcement did not give our first responders at the local level for the coast the opportunity to make plans. These are tight budgets, and the Harbormasters and local services had not foreseen this kind of transfer of responsibility. Indeed, it is a transfer of responsibility. They don't have the assets in place to do the job. They don't have the people in place. They were not allowed time to plan and react to this change. And again, that makes it more dangerous. Now, Congressman Lynch said that we're going to fight this fight, and we're not going to give up on this fight, because as we gather today at this press availability at this news conference, I'm just struck by the fact that we could be here in the future having the same kind of press attention, maybe more, but not around the issue of whether or not we're going to cut services here in Scituate that affects my district directly, in communities like Duxbury and Plymouth and Kingston. But we'd be gathering, if we don't stop this from happening, there's a strong chance we could be gathering, talking about a tragedy that could have been averted. We don't want to see that kind of press conference in the future being conducted here. And as a federal delegation joined by our state members, we are not going to allow that to happen. We can't rely just on helicopters in the air. We have to make sure we have the same assets on the water. So this fight is one that we take with great seriousness and resolve, and I think common sense will prevail. But thank all of our partners here, from the legislature, from local government, frontline defenders. Thank you all for all of us speaking in one voice, trying to make sure that we're here giving the news that these services will continue, rather than trying to live with consequences that are foreseeable and life-threatening. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Jim Cantwell from Senator Markey's office.
Jim, thank you very much. Jim Boudreau, thank you for bringing together this tremendous assemblage of the who's who on the South Shore. And Congressman Lynch, Congressman Keating, thank you for our legislative partners, Senator O'Connor, Representative Meschino, Senator Moran, Representative Kearney, all the selectmen who are here. Farrah and I are representing on the Senate side. Farrah represents Senator Warren. I'm the state director for Senator Markey. We have a delegation letter that was led by all four of our congressional members, speaking in unison for how we need to keep this base open. Now, in that letter, by the way, we cited the Coast Guard's own data, and I want to read a little bit from that. We know that Scituate Station here, it's 24/7 for its operations, going from May through October. By the way, I was a state representative for a decade here. We did no fewer than 4 events when we heralded how important this location was. When we had Mike DiMeo was leading it, along with Steve. Steve, I think, is here. Steve Mona as well. I spoke to Steve coming in. We talked about how response time is so important. And over the years, talking of different people who were saved. We know just this year, there have been 5 drownings this year alone in this region. The Coast Guard just back in August had to respond off of Wrexham Beach, just a few miles from here, to be able to save 2 boaters who could have perished but for having this station. We know that in the last year alone, the last year and a half, due to COVID, we've had over 30% new boating activity of people getting out on the water. Indeed, we've seen in 2020, just from the Coast Guard's own data, there were 767 accidents that were on the water, an increase of some 25%. Congressman Lynch, you said before how there's increased boater activity, not less. And Congressman Keating, you're right about the unity of everyone here, how important this is to keep this space open. Now, other things I want to mention here, other than just data, growing up here in the South Shore, every kid, this is the Irish Riviera, right? So almost everyone gets baptized, and after you're baptized, you learn how to swim. After you learn how to swim, you learn how to sail or boat. After that, you learn how to fish. We, by the way, have the 4th most productive fishing ports in this state. Scituate, and Marshfield, a lot of commercial activity, another reason why we need the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is part of our DNA, and we're quite angry to see the proposal to remove this location. In closing, I want to note the motto of the Coast Guard is Semper Paratus, always ready. We need this Scituate station so the Coast Guard can live up to its pledge, the pledge to the people of this region and to all of New England. The forces that are impacting our coast, both man-made and natural, that we just saw down in New Orleans, require preparedness on all fronts. Let's keep Station Scituate open. Let's make sure we ensure our communities and our seas are safe. Jim, thanks again for bringing us all together today.
Next up is Senator Patrick O'Connor.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you to our congressional delegation, Representative Keating, Representative Lynch, to Senator Markey and Senator Warren's office. Thank you as well. I really appreciate the tone that's been set in this press conference where, we have a deep appreciation for the Coast Guard and all that they do, not just here in Scituate, but throughout our country. But as a state legislative delegation who work hand in hand daily with our local partners here in Scituate and across the South Shore, we see this decision as illogical. When you take into consideration some of the details and facts that Jim Cantwell had just mentioned, when you look at the tragedies that have fallen upon us on our waterways this summer alone, and when you look at the history and the results of that Scituate Coast Guard station, you see the absolute demand and need for this resource to be on the South Shore. And what we need to continue to do is raise our voices up at the local level, at the state level, and especially at our federal level, and a deep appreciation to our federal partners, and continue to really speak in unity, as Congressman Keating had said, as far as the importance of what we're doing here. And again, thank you to everyone who's here. I see from the 8 communities that I represent, we have 4 of them that are here today. So it's not just impacting Scituate, it's impacting so many others. And my colleague in the Senate, Sue Moran, who's here with us today, not just north and south of the areas that I represent, but really all across the coast of the South Shore and beyond, down to the Cape, where you see activity at record rates, in my opinion. This is for the people who use this area for recreation, those who fish out of this pier commercially, and for everyone and for their safety. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today.
We'll now hear from Representative Joan Meschino.
Thank you so much for including me here today. I think it's incredibly important to come forward and speak in support of keeping the Scituate station. I just wanted to thank our federal delegation, our senators and our congressmen for their steadfast support of us. We put the Scituate Coast Guard station here for a reason. As someone who grew up in Hull and has lived on the water all of my life, I can tell you that these are historically treacherous, rocky coastlines. The weather here, as we all know, changes on a moment's notice, on a dime. And the water is cold. This is the Atlantic Ocean. And even on a nice, warm, sunny day like today at 69 degrees, minutes matter because there's only so long that you can last in the water. We have a substantial commercial fleet. We have wonderful recreational boating. We have wonderful day trippers. And I'd just like to harken back to the fact that we have put this here for a reason. The Hull Life-Saving Museum stands as a testament to the original Coast Guard life-saving mission. That's where the Coast Guard was born, on the Rocky Coast in Hull. And I know that because these are the people who, they don't just serve in the Coast Guard, they live in our communities, they get to know us, they work closely with us, they share that same historic mission. And I think we just need to remind the Coast Guard, these decisions tend to get made at the highest levels, and it feels very disconnected from both our experience, our reality of our boating, and our foreshore, open ocean waters, and the history and the spirit and the nature of the Coast Guard. And so I just want to join with my state colleagues in asking the Coast Guard to revisit this decision. And I want to take a minute to thank our federal delegation for remembering that minutes matter. Thank you so much.
And now Representative Patrick Kearney will speak.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank you all for being here at this press conference, Jim, for putting this together. and our state and local federal partners that are here with us. I don't frequently talk about my personal background, but before I had the pleasure of representing Marshfield and Scituate in the legislature, I went to Mass Maritime. I have a Coast Guard license to drive ships, and I also work on local charter and commercial fishing boats out of Marshfield and Scituate. I know firsthand the importance of having the Coast Guard around for public safety reasons. The mission, as Jim said, of the Coast Guard is to always be prepared, and part of their mission is search and rescue. And I know that based on their statistics and their response time, that if this station closes, we will be going from search and rescue to search and recovery. And there will be people who do not have access to the safety equipment and safety personnel that they need if this station closes. So I'd like to mention that at the very beginning of this, our federal partners were able to extend the public comment period for the public that lives between Hull and the Cape Cod Canal, for them to have their voices heard as well. So anyone that you talk to, anyone that is listening, please go online, reach out to the Coast Guard, make it known the importance of having the Coast Guard here. It is a public safety issue, and thank you both for extending the public comment period for a grassroots effort to keep this open. So I hope that we can work with the Coast Guard, Department of Homeland Security and Administration, our federal partners, to keep this open. Lives depend on it, and I am hopeful that we come to a resolution sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Next up, we'll hear from my colleague, Plymouth Town Manager Melissa Arrighi.
Thank you very much. So for the town of Plymouth, I'm going to go more to the local level. So for the town of Plymouth, we have 26 miles of coastline, and we have so many transient boaters, recreational boaters, people that come to visit the community, and our own residents that are out there. And we have seen too many accidents and too many tragedies. We think of this particular location and this Coast Guard as a true partner to us, and we want to keep that partner close. I know the Duxbury town manager and I have also talked extensively about the nuclear power plant that we have in the Plymouth community. And although that power plant is decommissioning, those spent fuel rods are critical. They need to be protected, and we need safety from the water. And I think Congressman Keating said earlier that seconds and minutes matter when it comes to response times. Now, although I am very, very proud of the Plymouth Harbormaster Department and the way they're able to respond to any kind of security threat or emergency, knowing that the Coast Guard is so close to us, if they move any further away and what their plans could be, it would double the time that we can use them for assistance. And that's not something that Plymouth wants or any of the surrounding communities want, which is why you see the support that you see today. So I hope this grassroots effort works and that we're able to retain the Coast Guard here in Scituate. Thank you.
Our last speaker today will be Marshfield Harbormaster Mike DiMeo.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's always hard to go live with all these cast of speakers here, but hopefully I can shed some more light and add more questions as to why this station is closing. First and foremost, I was stationed here in Scituate back in 1989 to 93. Been stationed at Point Allerton and Cape Cod Canal. I went through all the response times today and last week from our last meeting we had with the town administrators, and I can tell you these response times don't add up. They don't take into account the no wakes area from this harbor, this marina, to the mouth of the harbor, which is about 10 to 15 minutes. It doesn't take into account if the Coast Guard members are in training in Point Allerton. Also, the dock at Point Allerton is 420 feet from the parking lot to the boat. So 17 minutes from Point Allerton to Cohasset, I don't see that happening. So please look at those response times and ask those questions, okay? Point A to point B, yes, but not when you have to put on personal protection gear, grab the weapons and go. All those minutes add into the response times, okay? That's very important. This doesn't really talk, and the Federal Register doesn't really talk about the commercial fishing fleets that we have in our area. Marshall and Green Harbor have ranked in the top 1 through 4 each year for Atlantic bluefin tuna and commercial lobsters. We have a year-round fishing fleet here in Scituate, Marshfield, and Plymouth, and Cohasset. Nothing was talked about that in the Federal Register. The Federal Register didn't talk about the increase in paddle craft. It doesn't talk about the Coast Guard crew fatigue, all right, which are all factors. Right now, Station Point Allerton is a 2-boat station. After October 15th, it drops to a one-boat station, which means response times and boats also drop. That was not in the Federal Register. The Federal Register talked about synergy and training, not Coast Guard camaraderie. It didn't talk about the bulk of training is online in the Coast Guard. It didn't talk about that. But most of the Coast Guard stuff, training is online. Yes, there's always training, but this is the search and rescue season, May 15th to October 15th. This is when seconds matter and the most people are on the water. It didn't talk about the boating statistics from 2019 to 2020 with the uptick of fatal deaths of 26.1% from one year to the next. It didn't talk about budget closures. Very minimal this station costs to save one life. It didn't talk about that. It didn't talk about boater education, and it didn't talk about the increase of boats purchased from 2020 to 21, which is over 30%. And all those folks don't have the boating experience that is needed. Okay, so those are things that need to be looked at. Back to the synergy and training, the Coast Guard may want to look at shifting leadership roles, maybe using the reserves, and better use of people. I have a hard time talking about that because I retired Coast Guard July 1st, but there are certain things that can be done to allow the station to be open year-round. We went through this back in 1995, 1996, and when they closed the major station, then we got stations small, which we have now. If you close this station, the response times are going to increase. Once that boat leaves, it's probably not likely to be back here much more in the off-season for sure. There have been some notable recent cases. May New Inlet, which was a fatal boat accident. Having that boat here, it could have been there within 15 minutes. Marshfield, we had 2 people on a boat, 36-foot cabin cruiser that was taken on water. The water was up to the deck hatches. The Coast Guard was on routine patrol from this station. They were there within 5 minutes and saved those people. There was an incident in Scituate in the Glades not too long ago, 2 weeks ago, with 2 kayakers that were in the water. The Coast Guard also responded to that. They were there very, very quickly for that as well. So the Coast Guard is part of the fabric of all these communities in the South Shore. The reason why they're here is because the statistics are there. Okay, I don't want to keep rambling because it's hard to end on everybody else's speakers, but I will end with this, and I'll pass this around to you. This was a warning sign that we put at all the harbors and marinas. Okay, this is at the Herring River. It talked about New Inlet, which no one discussed. New Inlet is the 3rd worst inlet in Massachusetts behind Merrimack and Chatham Bars. There's a reason why this station is here and needs to remain here, and I'll share this with the media as well. A few years ago, it was 9 lives lost, and now somebody crossed off and put 11 lives lost. So the Coast Guard needs to be here and help respond to save people's lives. Thank you.
I hope we've been able to convey just how serious the closing of this station would be. It is deadly serious. We do not want to be back here in the future talking about a tragedy that could have been averted if only that boat had stayed in Scituate. So at this point, we're going to conclude the formal speaking portion. We'll open it up to any questions or any of the officials here. If you'd like to speak to them afterwards, that would be fine too. So thank you all for coming. Do we have any questions at this point?
Sure. I don't know if it's going to be for Congressman Keating or Lynch, but what is the next step here? Because the Coast Guard made the decision. Clearly, there's universal opposition. You mentioned reaching out to the Coast Guard. Like, what is the actual next step?
Yeah. Well, the next step would be meeting directly with Rear Admiral Allen. I have a relationship with him based on my representation of the Boston Coast Guard Station, as well as Point Allerton. So, and we've had great relationships with the Coast Guard. I too am very happy with the tenor of this because, we love the Coast Guard. I have family that recently, they're now behavioral police officers, but they were, coasties. And so I've had nothing but good relationship with the Coast Guard, happy to carry their amendments on funding and things like that. So it seems counterintuitive that we're giving them extra money, extra resources, and they're considering doing less and less of a very important function in keeping this area safe. So, I think the point on Plymouth Powerhouse is one that I don't represent Plymouth, but that's another very, very important issue that I had not considered, to be honest with you. But all of those in the aggregate point to the fact that this should stay open. So those will be direct, hopefully face-to-face meetings between myself and Congressman Keating Senator Markey and Senator Warren and perhaps Governor Baker with the Coast Guard directly and with Rear Admiral Allen. I also think there'll be some discussions in Washington, D.C. Involving Jim and Neil on Ways and Means, and maybe on the Coast Guard subcommittee as well on Homeland Security. So we've got some leverage here. It may take a little bit of time to work it out, but you know, I hate to repeat myself, but I think, you know, I expect to win. You know, this argument. This is a good argument. This is a good argument. We're making common sense, and you know, I think the arguments on the other side are fairly weak. So it's not a money thing, right? We've given them plenty of resources to do this function over and above what they have been given in the past. And so, I mean, think about it. We're not giving them extra money to do less. We're at least asking them to keep up the footprint that they've got right now, and their readiness cannot be diminished in the face of rising revenue.
I would just say this, that the nature of our discussions going forward are twofold. Number one, usually when we're thrust into these situations, it's a money issue, and they're looking at Congress delegate. The estimates are that the cost savings of this is like $10,000. $10,000 in our budget and in the Coast Guard's budget. So that is no argument to close this going forward. The other thing that we look at that's so important is during this comment period that we were able to get extended, better information has come forward. And I really want to commend Marshfield, Harbormaster. All those points he just brought up are directly contrary to many of the assumptions that the Coast Guard made in doing this. Those are very strong arguments. They're facts, and they're facts from someone that deals with it every day on the ground and has a Coast Guard background himself. So we have the facts on our side. There's no money issue. You know, we're just going to press this issue both with the Rear Admiral, but also Homeland Security Secretary if necessary, and dealing with people in Washington in that regard. I hope it doesn't go that far. I don't think there's any reason it should have to go to that level, because I do think that what we're facing here is just good old-fashioned common sense. And you've heard from each community some of the unique issues and challenges they have. And that's just the top level. You could go on and on dealing with the issue. So that's going to be the thrust going forward, those arguments, and I think they're pretty tough to rebut.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you all for coming.